When the Phone Rings, episode 5 and 6 have aired. This podcast episode's going to be all about, was the wait worth it? There is a lot to get into that has been revealed in these past 2 episodes. I cannot wait to talk about this. Hi, I'm Monique. I'm the host of Off by Purple Art podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and so much more. There's going to be a lot of spoilers, so if you have not caught up with When the Phone Rings, highly recommend that you go watch those first and then come back and we'll just do this commentary together. Episode 5, I like that we got so much closer to, Mr. Park finally getting the answers that he needed, but still having a hard time coming to terms with the fact that 406, at least the 406 that he's been communicating with regularly, is his wife, is Han Hee-ju. So for him finally to crystallize in his mind that it's her, he's just not accepting it. And I was thinking from the very beginning, he has been laying down hints the whole time. He has seen so much, and he knows subconsciously that it was her, that there was dichotomy between the kidnapper and how he was presenting himself and her. And the whole fall from the rooftop and them kind of caving in each other, I enjoyed all of that. I love so much what the phone represents. I honestly didn't think that the phone would have such emotional weight and significance to the progress of their relationship, and they explore this even more beautifully in episode 6. But the phone is the bridge to mending their relationship together. It wasn't just a simple plot device just to get, the tension going and for the kidnapper to just seem ominous and really frightening with a distorted, modulated voice. I love that it worked as a way to give Han Hee-ju an outlet to fully express herself and a lot of the pent-up anger and frustration and grief that she's had being in this marriage. And there's just so much that was revealed in episode 6 in particular that really drives that home. So I love how much that phone has been a bridge to getting her voice back and a bridge for her and Seon to connect. I love it so much. And the fact that that curse of her being the quote-unquote Little Mermaid, I think it's going to come to an end. The sister coming back into the picture and the entire sequence of her watching as, Mr. Park was getting Honeydew that dress and him kind of falling back in love with her and those little nudges of him, looking awestruck. I was wondering how the sister was going to present herself, because I really did feel an aloof, cold, detached aura to her. But in episode 6, there tend to be a little bit remorse coming from the sister, and Han Hee-ju just wanted nothing to do with that. So I'm really curious about how their dynamic is going to play out even more so in the next coming episodes, because I was wondering if the show was going to go down the route that some way Ina regretted the deal that she made with Mr. Park and wanting to actually be in a relationship with him. That was where I thought the story was going to head, and I was like, I don't really want to see that, and I don't want to see this whole jealousy arc. Like that's just not going to work for me. But I think the level of anger and vitriol Honeydew had towards her, and the fact that how much of my life I had to give up for you, having this pretense of this selective mutism, and then for the sister to come back into the picture now and say, you no longer have to pretend, you don't have to continue to be quiet, you can use your voice, you can speak up now. She's like, no, I'm going to choose when I decide to speak and express myself. You'll have nothing to do with it. So if they're going to explore the more emotional arc of the sisters, that would be really interesting. I love that a lot of the theories that a lot of us were like talking about on social media have come to pass about the fact that, Mr. Park Seon, he is not actually the legitimate son. There was a lot of little hints and clues that the show was leaving, like the mom saying, my son, he likes fish, even though we see the character as really young, really grossed out by fish and actively like spitting it out, throwing out the napkin, and other little clues here and there that things were just not right. And the little passing remark he had made that, these families, they dispose of their kids, this, that, and the third, and it's not really a big deal. There's so many little hints, and it seems to crystallize more in episode 6 that he's not the legitimate son, and that the kidnapper most likely is the legitimate son. We also got a reveal in episode 6 that there's twin brothers. And that damn assistant, I said this in a previous podcast, I said he was suspicious, and it had to have been someone close enough to have enough access to him to monitor his activity, and this obviously took a lot of planning and staging. I still think the best friend of Honeyju from college as well, who has a connection to the orphanage, I think he has a really blank dead stare too, so I'm really curious of how the show's going to bring him into the fold as well. But it was obvious from the very beginning that this was a layered, complex takedown of Mr. Park, and I know that it wasn't just going to be one central person that was coming to target him. So the assistant definitely looks even more suspicious with the events of episode 6 and Honeyju flying off of that that raised landing that they were all taking their pictures from with their hike. I was so perplexed because seeing her kind of fling off, I was like, I know they're not doing this whole thing where a bunch of people show up, they're pushing in to take a picture, and then all of a sudden she goes flying off the railings. I'm like, this is crazy work. Seriously, y'all just gonna push up into a picture? So it makes a lot more sense to me that someone actively pushed her off the landing, and that's how she ended up deep in the trenches in the forest, and we got a lot of amazing scenes. The first scene in the episode 6 where they're communicating and she's finally laying out everything that she's feeling and all the frustrations, and the confirmation that Mr. Park gets that the person that he was speaking with and her voice in the police car when she was screaming and she was having a panic attack, and matching up the voices together, and the assistant coming through to say, the character profile, the voice that you've been communicating with is definitely female, definitely in her early 20s, and everything kind of crystallizing in his mind that, oh my God, this has been Honeyju. I wanted to deny this so much, but it really is her. Really, really well done. But that first conversation, like, I was getting already emotional, and like I was starting to get goosebumps. And that's why I love the use of the phone so much in the show. Even though Homegirl has been so ridiculously careless and clumsy, but she wasn't made to be like this super espionage type spy. Like, she's obviously in on her over her head. She obviously had a lot of deep love and care and just didn't know how to express it, and felt that, Seon, Mr. Park, he's being really cold and detached towards her, and he thought he was doing it out of being protective of her, and because he essentially thought, I trapped her in this marriage even though that's what I wanted. That's why I made the deal with her sister. He truly thought at some point I'm going to have to let her go, so there's no point getting even further attached. And her the whole time trying to reach out to him and hoping that they could turn this relationship into something solid and real, and getting rebuffed every single way, while also being a prisoner to this weird ass family and just being consistently used as a chess piece by her mother. That conversation was gorgeous, but the actual search and rescue, oh my God, the scoring of the scene, the heightened emotions, the fear on both sides, him talking through this damn phone with her, and he's like, I'm waiting for the call, I'm ignoring all these other calls, the media's calling because somehow it got leaked to the press that this happened on this little trip that we were on, the entire sequence of it until him disclosing, I have a flare in the bag for you. I have water. I gave you an extra coat. Just please, you gotta let me know where you are. The final moments and them finally getting to connect, it was just masterclass, incredible work. I think, to answer my question at the beginning of the podcast, the wait was absolutely worth it. The emotional payoff of episode 6 in particular, both at the first act of the episode right down to the final act, chef's kiss. There was a lot of goofiness in this episode as well. There was definitely a lot more levity, but we also got a lot more clues, and we got a little bit more into the mystery behind these families, and a lot of the theories turning out to be correct. But my absolute favorite thing is the emotional connection between the two of them through the phone, and the phone giving Han Hee-ju her voice back was just perfection. I was so moved. Like, I was literally tearing up. I did not expect that from the show. I have been enjoying the ride ever since episode 1. I have been swept up in the fever like everyone else, and I think actually that this show not being released all at once works well in its favor. I know it's annoying to the major fans of this show that it goes on hiatus a lot, and it most likely will go on hiatus again before the new year. But I do think that helps us to digest things, for us to build more theory, to build more hype, anticipation. And I will tell you, the payoff was definitely worth it. I enjoyed every minute of episode 5, and I really enjoyed episode 6. And as I said, the last final act of episode 6 really sells the emotion of the show. The two actors are killing it. They are so good. Their chemistry is so good. Even like the behind the scenes stuff, they just seem to have that magic lightning in a bottle. I honest to God, I hope more than anything that when the show crystallizes a relationship, and I'm willing for it to be slow burn as hell. I think we're getting 12 episodes, all the way up until like episode 11 if they need to, but I want the actual payoff in the kiss and intimacy and them coming together to be worth it. Please. They have so much good chemistry, the emotional resonance that they've already established between the two of them, even though there is a lot of flaws in the relationship. The chemistry is selling it so hard that they have so much potential, and I hope they're able to stick the landing. But let me know your thoughts. How did you enjoy episode 5 and 6? Did you think the wait was worth it? Did a lot of the theories that you thought of, were they kind of met with the expectations of what was set in episode 5 and 6? I feel like a lot of the theories that the fans have been discussing online have matched up to what the show is presenting, and I'm pretty sure I know what the tail end is going to be like. But if the show can throw any more wrenches out for surprise, I'll be really happy. I'm just telling you right now, the best friend especially, I knew the assistant for Mr. Park was sus, so, and the hand that pushed her was wearing all black. He was wearing all black and was on the same position of the landing beside her before everything kind of transpired. So that ship had already sailed for me. I'm telling you, that best friend though is in the YouTube comment section. Just let me know your thoughts, and if you're listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please let me know your theories as well. I'd be interested to hear it. Till the next one, I'm super excited. I'm so excited, you have no idea.